Hello and welcome back to our ongoing series of reconstruction videos that I'm making for you. And I'm going to remind you at the beginning of this that you should be taking notes as you go along. This is not just, as I would say, free time for you just to sit here and listen to me babble on and on and on about a subject. We really need to take notes so we can understand it better. Today's episode is going to be about the Great Migration. Do we really know what it is? We're going to talk about what it is. We're going to talk about why it happened and what its effects were. This is, something that really occurred right after the Civil War, up until probably about 19. So it's over a period of about 50, 60 years that this happened. What it really is just a mass migration of more than 6 million African Americans from the South to places all over the country, like California, Kansas City, New York, Chicago, all these different places. Why is it that they went? What do we think? What are we thinking might be this reason that would send them away from the only place that they've ever lived and ever known in their lives? So why? That's the question I always ask you guys in class, is why did things happen? We need to explain why they happen, and there are many reasons why they happen. And I'm going to use some terms that you're going to hear over and over again in different places, like push factors. These are the factors that are going to push you away from where you are and make you want to go somewhere else and just disappear from where you are and go and move. So we have these factors that are going to try and maybe make these former slave freedmen move. For example, you can't just get up and walk away, right? You can't just get up one day and decide, hey, I'm going to move away and I'm just going to go here. You have to have a way there. 1869, they get that way there. They get the Transcontinental Railroad finally finished after 7-8 years of working on it. Finally, that golden spike goes in Promontory Point, Utah. Now, East and West finally connected. Now, people can start moving. The trip that would normally take you about 21 days to make now takes you about 5 or 6. So we have that. We have that playing rather heavily into what they're doing. A transportation method. If they have the money to do it, which some people did. As we discussed in class, KKK. Another thing that's going to be a push factor that's going to move you out of here. You're not going to want to stay and be terrorized by a homegrown terrorist group that's going to pull you out of your house, beat you in front of your family, burn a cross on your front lawn. You're not going to want to stay there. I don't know anybody who in their right mind would want to stay there. Bad working contracts. I mean, they're forced basically into things like sharecropping. Why would they do it? Why would they do that? Number one reason would be it's something that they've known for quite a while, so they know how to do it. They know how to farm. They've been slaves before. This is not that much different from the slavery system that they were in, except now they're getting paid just a little bit, as opposed to getting paid nothing. But these contracts that they sign, they're still getting ripped off big time. They get a very little portion of what they make, and the rest of it goes to the person who owns the land. And those of us who are lucky to own land couldn't find anybody willing enough to sell it to them. You could have $20,000 in your pocket. You're black, nobody's selling to you. Plain and simple. The old racist tendencies come back. Jim Crow, again, we have the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendments that were actually passed. And we talk about how the South decided they were going to try and manipulate the system and work it in their favor, even though it wasn't legal to do that. They come up with a set of laws called the Jim Crow laws, which are going to limit the rights of African Americans that they just got. So they're manipulating the system to try and make it. So all of these reasons are going to lead this group of people out of here into what everybody calls the promised land. We're going to, again, another terminology that we're going to use that you're going to hear throughout a lot of different places that we discuss in class is going to be the reality versus the expectation. The reality of the situation is far different than what you expect. Now we go from the push factors that make you want to leave to the pull factors that make you want to come to a place, right? They're pushing you out. These are pulling you in. These are the ones that make you want to come to the place. There's a promise of better jobs. There were advertisements up for all colored people that want to go to Kansas can go there for $5. Buy a ticket, you go there, you get the promise of a better job. You get the promise of better pay. We're going to give you that elusive better life that you've been looking for centuries. More opportunity here. But again, we go back to the idea of, is it really everything that it seems? Do you get everything that you're promised? These are the questions you have to ask yourself. We have to figure out whether the reality and the expectation are the same. The expectation, we're being promised better job, better life, better pay, more opportunities, equal treatment. But is that really what's going to happen once we get there? You have to think about that. You have to put that together. And the answer really quickly is no, it's not. They're going to still run into many of the same issues that they had down south, regardless of where you are. Like we've said in class, you can make as many laws as you want, you can make as many rules as you want, but you can't legislate the way people think, and you can't legislate the way people's hearts work. Once you hate somebody, once you think you're better than them, laws aren't going to change that. It's just not going to change based on, okay, I'm moving from the south to the west, or the south to the north. People still have the same belief systems regardless of where you go. Let's get back to that concept of this place being called the Promised Land. Okay, Promised Land brings this idea of it's going to be so much better than where you are now. It's going to have so many more opportunities. People are going to be willing to deal with you. People are going to be willing to sell you houses and land, and you're going to be able to do this and that and the other thing. But are you really? I mean, you're free, but are you really? Right? Because we've talked about how slaves are freed, but are they truly free? Is it just a freedom on paper or a freedom in reality? Does it look good in front of you on a piece of paper that says slaves are now forever and henceforth free? Does it really look like that when you look at it? It reads that way, but the actions don't match up with how it reads. Because we still have the same issues. Even when you get to the factories up north and out west, you're still, as an African American in this country, going to get those jobs that nobody else wants to do. You're going to get that job that's really dangerous outside, using dynamite that you really probably don't want to do, but you really don't have a choice. You're going to get into the factory. You're going to get that factory job, and you're going to get that low-level job that you thought you were going to avoid by coming up north. It's just the reality. Again, we talk about the reality versus what the expectation is. Reality is this golden rainbow, the pot of gold at the end, and we all just sit there and go la-di-da-di-da. We all hold hands and sing around the fire. Reality is a stark smack in the face. It's just a really harsh right hook. Right into the gut. That you're leaving one situation to go to a similar situation somewhere else. To me, it's a lot of it is the concept of the grass is always greener on the other side. Because they still want you to come. They're still advertising for everybody to come if they can, if they want to. You have to think about, is it too good to be true? Does it seem too good to be true? Does it sound too good to be true? Because if any one of those three answers is yes, it probably will be too good to be true. A lot of this great migration came as a direct result. Let's ask ourselves the question, how is this a direct result of the Reconstruction period? Which, by the way, was an epic failure on our part. This is a direct result of everything that they did. All of the laws, the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendments, and the backlash that we discussed from the Southern whites. And then all of the KKK, all of the bad working contracts, all of these things that try to keep the former slave down are going to come back out, even though there are laws in place that try to prevent it. People thought this is a solution to the problem. if we just let them go. But again, it's the same treatment in a different place. The grass is greener. I mean, we could think of many different things to blame this on. Or maybe not blame it on. Maybe we can just think of it as they had enough. And they wanted to move somewhere else to try to have a fresh start. I mean, we think about the effects of this. We have the population of African Americans in 1890. Actually, no, I'm sorry, in 1869 was 90%. 90% of all African Americans lived in the South. By the time the Great Migration was over in the early 1900s, it went down to 53. That's a big drop. Still, the majority of African Americans lived in the South. Why? Because the percentage that left there either A, liked it there, or B, just couldn't move because they didn't have the means to move. They didn't have the money or the vehicles or whatever it was that they needed to move. And there was even that small percentage, like my parents after Hurricane Sandy, which just didn't want to move because it was the only place they've ever lived. Yeah, they gained jobs in factories in Chicago, New York, and Cleveland, and Detroit, and Kansas City. Meat factories, factories producing automobiles, factories producing anything that you could possibly produce in a factory. And as a direct result of this, we have what they call the Harlem Renaissance, which is when art and music and all these awesome things came from Harlem in New York. And writers like Langston Hughes and Zora Neale Hurston that came out of this. And a lot of great musicians that came out of this time period. It was a new beginning. So things started to change a little bit, and they continued to get better. And hopefully they do still continue to improve after this. So the migration was actually